Saturday is the.
Yes.
Thank you, it's scary. There's one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
What brings us to approval of the agenda. I trust that everybody has had a chance to get acquainted with the agenda and all the packet materials, so I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented. I'll move to approve tonight's agenda as presented. Motion by Marcy, is there support?
Support.
Support by Israel, all in favor? Aye. Great. Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make public comment? Is there anybody joining us online? All right. Close public comment and move right on to the consent agenda. Anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda and address separately, or if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Aldrich, is there support? I'll support by Marcy. Any further discussion? On favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great, motion carries 5-0. That brings us to, we don't have any presentations tonight. So a new business. And first item on our business is appointments. Anybody have a page number?
29?
No, 40.
Oh, 40? Okay.
Yeah, so there is an update, so Jessica Ruthsatz is not going to reapply for the Community Recreation Board. So we're going to publish that notice again
Okay.
and see if we can find someone who might be interested in serving on that board.
Okay. Is that active at this time, Tina, do we have that?
I don't know the answer to it. I know that I spoke with Scott Kierzik, who runs it, and he said they hadn't met in a long time, but they were planning on meeting soon. So he was going to think of anyone that came to mind that might want to serve on that board, and I have a few people who I think would be interested in that. But I think we should put it in the paper again and see if there's any other interested parties.
Okay. So do we just need to table that, or do we just have to take any action on? We might need to get.
You can table it. Yeah, we'll take it up again at the October meeting. But we still have the interurban.
Right. John, you're good at crafting motions on the fly. Would you like to make a motion to table the appointment to the Community Recreation Advisory Board? Sorry.
I'd like to move that we table until next month after we post the opening of the Community Recreation Advisory Board.
motion, is there support?
I'll support that.
Moved by Hummer, support by Israel, is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that brings us to the interurban board. I see that the director and our current representative are here, which I'm pleased to see both of you. But Daniel, would you like to introduce this?
Yeah, so the township has two, or is able to appoint, two representatives to, our interurban board. We have Becky, who is the director of the interurban here, and, Lori Babinski, who has been serving as one of our township representatives to the interurban board. The other one is, Judith Snyder, and I believe Lori, you serve currently as the treasurer.
Yes.
So they're 4-year terms. Lori's term is up and she is requesting that her term be renewed. We did publish it in the paper. We did not get any inquiries back for anyone who would want to serve on that board. So right now, Lori is the only applicant that you'll be reviewing. And then you can see that Becky has submitted a letter in support of Lori. It's in your packet.
How long have you been on the board now, Lori? Remember?
How many years? Oh, I think it's 22.
No way.
Oh, that's 2022. Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
just 2 years.
Since 2012.
No,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
2012, yeah.
Yeah.
12 years.
12 years.
She's been working for the.
Is she a new treasurer?
It's amazing.
They're gonna sign my name.
He is a wealth of knowledge.
To the secretary is.
I was, and I thought after so many years, I thought I'd hand it off to someone else, and Gregory took over that, so and then
Oh, excellent.
unfortunately, our someone passed away, Marie Ruha, so they asked me to take on that role, so I said yes, so went from that to the treasurer, so, yeah.
And Marie was with us for 33 years.
Wow. She did, yeah, and it's a great board, I'm very fortunate to sit on that board and just, that we have a transit authority in this area, it's just, we're really thankful, so, yeah.
Clerk Israel's your question.
I was just gonna ask you, Lori, what is it that you really like about working on this board? Well, I think we just answered it.
Yeah, I just love that, I mean, because not all municipalities have a transit, which I always look forward to every meeting I go to, which I don't think it must be one or two, but yeah. And I'm excited to see what Becky has to offer, she's got a lot of energy. So,
I love reading the reports and just seeing all the developments and, you know, you guys being more green, growing, the ridership is up, but what have you seen over that 12 years? That's like the most like, wow, we started here and now we're here. Like what growth have you seen? Or
just,
change or
you know,
development?
ridership and just more, like you said, more, I mean, changing over to propane, it's just been, yeah, it's just been really going forward. We're not going back, we're going forward, so it's like, yeah.
Electronics and
Yeah,
tablets and software.
and hopefully we'll get our app on our phones, so.
We're gonna get a new building addition.
Mhm.
So yeah, we have a lot going on.
Becky, would you like to say anything to the board or what you,
I just hope
again,
that,
thank you for being here.
yeah, you're welcome. I just hope that you would support my recommendation for Lori. She's been a wealth of knowledge on the board and we have such a cohesive board that I feel that we're gonna be able to move forward. Probably a little quicker than others, but I really appreciate her and her time that she gives.
Well, it speaks a lot that you wrote this letter and you're also here, you know, so that speaks volumes about, you know.
I saw Phyllis ran the Mount Ball and did really well. Boy, she got right into it, didn't she?
Yeah.
To her sisters.
Well, should I make a?
Oh, sure.
That'd be great.
I move to approve the appointment of Lori Babinski to the Interurban Authority Board for a 4-year term set to expire on September 30th, 2028.
I'll support
That seems like a long time.
We have a motion by Aldrich, support by Israel. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I feel like we love it that you're here, and we got to see your faces, but we certainly don't need to stay.
Yeah,
And it'll
and
be
I,
16 years, Lori, when you can do that.
and I just wanted to say thank you, and I have to exit because I have to be at the SCA, for the art student alone, the student art alone. Because we've been participating in that in the last 13-14 years, and we try to get art that, one of our writers has done.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, cool. I need to,
Love that.
exit, so I.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations, Lori.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Item number 2 on your new business TAP grant resolution. And please kick off this discussion.
Yeah, so this is a continuation of our efforts to complete the Blue Star Trail segment, which is located in the tri-community. So I think we're all aware that we have an existing TAP grant, which is Transportation Alternatives Program. It's a grant program through MDOT. So we have an existing TAP grant, and then the city of Saugatuck and the township each respectively have a trust fund grant. That's going to pay for the completion of the northern section of the Blue Star Trail that we need to break ground spring 2025. So now we are beginning to plan extending the trail to the south, all the way to the border of Ganges. So taking it from Wiley Road all the way down to M89. And to fund that, we're going to essentially follow the same playbook that we did for the northern section. So we're going to apply for a TAP grant, and then also the city of Douglas and the township are each going to apply for their own trust fund grants. Because the section of trail is mostly in the township, we're gonna be the community lead on this. But we're not an Act 51 agency. We don't receive road funding from the state, but the road commission does. They're our Act 51 agency, so they're gonna be the applicant. We're gonna be the lead community on it, so this is kind of a little bit of a change, that before the city of Saugatuck was the lead applicant on their TAP grant, and we're gonna primarily be the ones responsible for all the responsibility that comes with applying for the TAP grant. But the TAP grant is gonna be the biggest piece of funding. This is gonna pay, if we can get it, it's gonna pay for the majority of the construction of the project, and then the trust fund kind of fills in the gaps. So this is to essentially, it's a resolution of support for the application to the TAP grant, which the road commission is gonna be the agency applying for that. And we hope to submit that application early October.
Any questions? Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I will. I would like to move to adopt resolution 24-23.
Yes, I was one correction, I was gonna, yeah, we approved another resolution earlier this evening, so now it's 23, not 22.
A resolution of support for the Transport Alternatives Program grant application for the Blue Star Highway Trail extension.
I'll support.
Motion by Israel, support by Homer. Is there further discussion? I will call the roll. Israel,
Yes.
Homer,
Yes.
Bickford, yes, Marcy, yes, Aldrich.
Yes.
Very- Item number 3 under new business is utility service contract negotiation proposal. This is. Forward, want to give us the highlights, Daniel?
Yes, and so this might seem familiar because we did sign this previously, just with a different company. So while we were, wait, back up here. So back in 2020, we were given a letter by the state of Michigan, by Eagle, citing certain deficiencies with the organization of our water authority. And we were required to make updates to that. Now, the municipalities in Cowley attempted to do that on our own, and we kind of went nowhere. So when Rich Lombard was still here, we came up with the idea of bringing in a utility expert consultant to help guide us through the process, so they could look at the organization of our water authority and give us kind of an objective take on it and recommendations on where we could go to improve it, and then still address all of the deficiencies that were identified by Eagle. So that's exactly what we did, and we've been working with Andy Campbell, previously at Baker Tilly, I think since July or August 2023. We're now kind of back in the full swing of things with the water agreement. We have a small utility committee that's been working with the city of Saugatuck and the city of Douglas, and soon to be engaging with Cal Lake as well. Andy Campbell is no longer with Baker Tilly, now he is with Bedzinski and Company. But he's been fantastic to work with. I think he's really made the water agreement process, or the renegotiation of that water agreement, a much more productive process. And I think that we're gonna have, hopefully at the end of it, a much improved water agreement with the municipalities in Cow Lake. So this is just to continue, or rather to finish the work that we started with Andy. So we've already budgeted for it. But it is Andy switching companies from Baker Tilly to Bedzinski and Company. And I think the consensus is that we're really satisfied with the support that Andy's provided.
I mean, he's kind of doing a dual role, right? And he's the expert piece, but also kind of like the mediator. And I think he does both roles very well. What you say?
Oh, he was fantastic. I feel like out of everything we've done on this board, this is really one of the top 5, in my opinion, of importance. It really is, and I don't know if everyone's aware how important it is to get this.
He's just the right guy.
And I think
fair. He doesn't seem like he's saying what people want to hear, and he's not talking favorites.
He told us some hard things that we probably didn't want to hear too. You know, so it was a good meeting. I really feel it's important.
So. Anything you wanna share that he told you or not really? I mean, it's kind of going off schedule, but.
Yeah, I mean, so when that water authority was formed, the township wasn't a player, it was just the city of Douglas and the city of Saugatuck, and we came in. Yeah, and we came in after, and then the sewer authority was formed even after that, and I think that. You know, when they formed those, they weren't necessarily assuming the township was gonna be a player. There was some bad blood when the sewer authority was established, because the township was supposed to be to have an equal share in that, and the board pulled out of it. So there was some bad blood. There's been a lot of kind of hobbling together of the authority structure, and that's not to say that our water is unsafe. We've always had an operator, we've always complied with state regulations, so the water itself is safe, but there's a lot of question marks when it comes to the ownership structure. So for instance, the city of Saugatuck is going to have to replace their water main on Maple Street. Right now, based on the existing water agreement, we know that the city of Saugatuck owns that water main, but we don't really know what the responsibility of the township is, because it's on a municipal boundary. So the way it's set up now is we could run into big arguments with our neighbors over something that really should just be spelled out in agreement, and should be something that is totally something that we can anticipate, that we know when this happens, this is what the expectation is, and right now, we don't have those expectations. We also don't have, something that's come up, there's no limitation right now on water usage. So a community's wells could go bad and they could continue to draw on other communities' water sources in perpetuity without limit. That's not a great setup. So like, for instance, if Douglas's wells go bad, they just could use the township's water and the water agreement allows them to do it. And they could grow as much as they want and there's no repercussions for doing it. So that's something that we want to address. We also want to address the management of the wells. Right now, each municipality manages their own wells. And there could be differing management approaches that could be taken towards those wells, and you really want like consistency in how wells are maintained, so that's something that it's going to address. We're also bringing in sewer capacity, where the township really is the only community that will have land for future municipal wells for water. We also need some sort of a stake in the sewer system, and so that's gonna be also addressed in the water agreement. So we're gonna be doing both agreements simultaneously. So that's what this contract's gonna to help provide too. So there's just a lot of things. It's not it's not that the water is unsafe, it's not that it's being, operated improperly, it's that there's really a lot of ambiguity in terms of how ownership is structured. And that can result in a lot of problems, that could result in threats to the quality of the water. If we're not on the same page with how to maintain our wells, that could result in, water quality issues. So we really want to be able to address all of that now and then address what our future needs are. So like, who's gonna manage the wells into the future, knowing the township's the one without the land for future well sites. How does that play into it, and knowing that we are a growing community and we need, we need space at that sewer treatment plant, so we wanna build that into the contract. So to Stacy's point, it is a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't know until I sat there and heard all this, like, wow. Yeah.
Really, we've kind of been fortunate up until now, where we haven't been bigger.
Right.
So,
And plus they had the thing where you could just repair without replacing, we're addressing that as
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah,
I don't know, you probably could explain that a little better.
so who's connected,
It's Douglas, or no, it's not.
I think it's Douglas.
Yeah, Douglas.
Who's got city water here?
I do.
So we have two people with city water, you don't have city water. So Cow Lake charges a fee, right, like a base rate, and then they charge you for how much water you use. And essentially that goes into one pot of money, and Cow Lake is responsible for repairing the system. So Cow Lake will use that pot of money to make any necessary repairs along the system. Now, our systems were not installed at the same time. Our system is new and there's very few repairs that need to be made on it. Douglas has a far older system and there are repairs that have to be constantly made to that system. So one of the problems is that one community is drawing on the funds being supplied by another community, or the township and the city of Saugatuck are essentially subsidizing the cost of repairing the Douglas system. And that's nobody's fault, that's just the way it was set up. So that's one issue.
but there's no motivation for them to do capital improvements, to replace it, even if it's just hobbling along. So they're like, why, it's free, they just keep repairing it, that's just how it is, which again, like, it's not bad, it just is, they're,
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It is, and the representatives at the table recognize.
Right.
Table,
Very,
they were like, oh,
nobody knew, I mean, we didn't know that.
We didn't create
Right.
the situation, but everybody now is at the table to,
They were just as surprised as we were,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, also.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other impressive part about it, that like each of the communities recognize how important is, and they are at the table. So I think we're making a lot of progress. We're talking about like a lot of awkward things, like that's an awkward thing to talk about with Douglas, but. We have things too that, are not gonna be perfect for us, but the fact that we can all be there and we can make some, accommodations, we'll have a much better, agreement and hopefully we won't run into problems that, so discord between our communities.
Okay, so Andy's job really is to be almost a coordinator of moving forward.
He is.
He's
That's-
great, he's got like.
So yeah, he's, knows of the expert, but he's also the mediator, or the coordinator, so.
Yes.
I appreciate your explanation.
Oh, pleasure.
Anything else on this? All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the proposal from
I know.
Benzinski and Company Mutual Financial Advisors at a cost of $13,500 to provide support with water and sewer contract negotiation.
I'll support. Motion by Alder, supported by Marcy, further discussion. Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Israels,
Yes.
Bickford, yes, Hamrick.
Yes.
That brings us to item number 4 in our new business, zoning amendment. Number 1, go ahead and start this, Daniel, I need to get to.
I think it's 50 and
Okay. Yes, all right.
56 on the new one.
On the new.
Oh, 56 on the new one, yeah.
Oh,
So as part of the comprehensive update to the zoning ordinance, we looked at the existing critical dune overlay. I think there was some confusion in the beginning because we do have, we have overlays, but there's also maps. And I think in the beginning, we thought this was an overlay map, just kind of showing where the critical dune area, exists. But in fact, it was an overlay district that had additional requirements associated with building and use in that area. We uncovered a lot with this. One thing that we uncovered was that with an existing judgment that we were actually supposed to scrap our overlay district back in 2013, for whatever reason, it never went away. We also uncovered the fact that the township cannot be more restrictive than the state, it can't be less restrictive than the state, and that Eagle does already regulate the critical dune overlay district. There's a lot of other reasons, but the conclusion that planning commission reached, and they voted to recommend that the board repeal this overlay district, was that it's better to repeal the overlay district and allow the critical dune area to be regulated by the state of Michigan and not take on that responsibility as a municipality.
John, you were part of that,
yes.
you wanna say anything about?
Just as last month at the August meeting, we voted unanimously. Like this, correct? Going through the review, sense was we should keep it in there, more information was uncovered. It's clean, it's out, and now the board has to approve the action of the planning commission. Obviously, I support that, because I voted for it.
Yeah.
Any questions for Daniel or John? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 2024-02. An ordinance to abolish the critical dune area overlay district by repealing zoning ordinance section 5.20, amending zoning table 2.20B and subsection 7.120B.1 and amending the Saugatuck Township zoning map.
I'll support.
A motion by Marcy, support by Humrick. Any further discussion? Is this, voice vote or roll call?
This is definitely what's called.
Okay. All right, I'll call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Humrick?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Bighorn, yes. Okay. Now to, item number 5, landfill due diligence agreement. I think this is an exciting development and essentially putting some land to use and improving it. Do you want to kick off the discussion, please?
Yeah, I'll call out, we have some parks commissioners in our presence tonight, so if you have any questions for them, you can ask them, but
Absolutely.
I guess Ken, I think, alerted us to the existence of the landfill site, so it's proximate to our dog park site. And the idea was that we have some room at the dog park, we're in the process of developing trails with the idea that there could be enough trail length that we could host track meets. Right now, we don't quite have the distance that we need. But there's definitely a possibility of extending those trail systems to the landfill site. It was our understanding in the beginning of this process that the city of Saugatuck fully owned the landfill site. We did some title work and we found that the landfill site's actually 2 distinct parcels. The parcel to the west, the city of Saugatuck owns 100%. The parcel to the east, the township owns 50%, the city of Saugatuck owns 50%. And so what we did here, we had some preliminary conversations with the city of Saugatuck. And what we're proposing is for the city to allow us to go onto the property, do a little due diligence work, because there is required work by the state of Michigan when you're dealing with a former landfill site, to determine what the state of that site is. And if we find that the property's in somewhat good condition, or that it wouldn't cost too much money to get it into a good, a better condition, and we're not taking on too much of a liability, that we would make an offer to the city of Saugatuck to purchase their stake in the landfill site for a nominal cost. In exchange, the township would agree to develop that site for recreational purposes and open it up to the public. We don't know how the city of Saugatuck will respond to this due diligence agreement. We have had preliminary conversations with their manager and with their attorney. So in theory, I think it's something that is reasonable for them to consider. Parks looked at this last week and they recommended that the board approve this due diligence agreement and send it over to the city of Saugatuck. But that's kind of where we're at, that we realized that there's this 30+ acre parcel adjacent to existing parkland that does have the potential to be developed as additional recreational amenities, and we would like the opportunity to go onto the site to verify that that is possible. There are other communities in Michigan that have transitioned landfill sites into recreational sites, so we know that it's been done. So we just want to confirm that that's possible, and if it is, make the offer to the city of Saugatuck to buy out their stake in it in exchange for developing it as a recreational site.
Do we need both those parcels to make it enough for those tracks, or you can't just do the one that we own half of?
If I may, so it's, you wanna get to a 3-mile course, we have roughly a 2-mile course within the dog park. And they're gonna run a middle school meet there again this Friday. So that there's enough distance for the middle school to run a small meet. I looked up online right now, the Saugatuck High School, the boys team is ranked number 4 in the state.
Wow.
So, but once again, they've never had a whole meet. So the thought was, the land hasn't been used as a landfill for over 30 years. It was an EPA Superfund site, they closed it. Eagle has no records of this. Because normally what happens, if you go drive by it, you'll still see the big white PVC pipes sticking up out of the ground. Those were to vent off any methane that was percolating underneath there. The city of Saugatuck did I think a phase one's review of it on the real estate and determined that as long as you leave the cap in place, because there's a clay and sand cap on that, you're fine. You can walk on it, run on it, whatever you want. You just can't dig into it, which means you can't build on it because you can't put a footing on it. So it's also next to a freeway and just north of Cal Lake Water and Sewer. So functionally, it has no value for development. So the thought being that you could create basically two cross-country courses. One would be a flat course where you would not go up and over the hill. One would be a hilly course. And that's a discussion that Coach Bauer wants to have. There are advantages to and disadvantages to both options. There's enough land there, I think, to do this with. And the thought was we probably will, if we test those vent pipes, those should be tested every year. So one of two scenarios is going to be borne out. Number one, they tested it for a number of years, found no methane coming out and stopped testing it. Number two is they just stopped testing it 1 year and there's still methane coming out, which is why we have to do our due diligence. I'm hoping that it's the first one that after a number of negative results, there was no sense in continuing this. But some of those pipes do continue. I talked to Pigeon Creek, and they are adjacent to a landfill site, and they're still testing positive. So he's just waiting for a couple of years of negative tests, and they'll expand Pigeon Creek. We get the advantage that this was done 30 years ago. I'm hoping that it's finally done. Their phase one didn't find anything. But this could be just a win-win for both communities and the school. Cross country.
Oh, cross country.
Yeah. Well done.
Mr. Stern, do you have anything to add?
No, I can't think of anything that what Ken just said.
Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, and just clarify for me, if we move forward with this, at what point do you expect there'll be new testing?
Well, we were recommended this to you, and then we're here to hopefully get your blessings on it. And then it will be presented to the city of Saugatuck. And their recreation board had recommended this, but it still has to go through the city of Saugatuck council. And we will attend that, and the reasons I've just stated, like, it's not worth anything, you're not getting any taxes on it. It's not located within your district, it will help the school district. And you'll get access to more park. And if there's opposition to it, let's hope there's more support than opposition. As a politically correct way I can say it.
Quick, as you're.
I think this was a really fabulous, but I mean, when I read this, it didn't mention the school system. And so, it just didn't mention it in this report, so I thought, okay. They aren't planning to build a track somewhere else, are they?
No.
Okay,
And
that was my
they
question.
at one time wanted to look at the airport property, but there is no indication from the city of Saugatuck that they are interested in having a cross-country course at the airport property. It would also be a magnificent site, but that's not on the table. We think we can develop a set of trails fairly economically, if nothing else, basically doing what we did with the dog park is talking with the county probation department and getting free work. And basically clearing brush, dead trees, we do not cut down any trees. But clearing brush, and opening up an area for cross country. And then what we've primarily been using are wood chips to fill any wet areas that over time builds up. But wood chips are immensely cheap to lay your hands on. So, yeah, I think, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago, I have the video somewhere on my phone. I actually cross-country skied down the hill at the landfill site. So, you know, if we ever start having snow for winters, we might get a good sledding hill out of it too.
I think insurance would say no. Insurance said no pools, no sledding hills.
Could you put a shed on that site or something though? I mean, for inclement weather, if parents are there watching.
Well, that's the whole thought,
Put
is to sit down.
anything on top of
Right.
topography?
Well, so I spoke with Scott Kurzek, we are developing a small soccer field for small kids at River Bluff.
Oh.
In which we are buying one goal, they're buying one goal, we're gonna bear the land. We've got a couple tree stumps and a history marker to move. Some small trees to move and replant. And then they're gonna buy a goal, and if there's any striping, if they're gonna start holding games there, the striping will be up to them, so. It's, you know, once again, moving towards working together with the other communities, and for something that benefits us, benefits all of us.
I had no idea that they've already held a meet there. This is news to me. I'm really excited. So have they been practicing there as well, the high school and?
Yeah, the high school did practicing there. Yeah, they had, the middle school had their first meet there last year. And that was my one time I managed to get on the front page of the paper, so.
Keep trying.
Well, Chad, you could have it all.
Yeah.
You're supposed to not want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
go.
I just can kind of, we all remember when the coach was here.
Yes.
Was that 2 years ago even? I mean, you've been behind.
It has been a long process.
I know. I remember you showing me the pipes, taking me out there when you first joined the park, so. It's good progress. If the city doesn't vote to support, is there an alternative?
Why don't we have that discussion after?
Oh, okay. I'll be optimistic. All right. I do want to make sure there's alternative plans being had.
I mean, it's a little different than the airport property. I will say that, you know, to Ken's point, like, the property does not have that much value. Right now, it's really a matter of determining the extent of the liability of the property. Hopefully that liability is low. So that's what we're really after, and yeah, I don't see the city of, you know, investing in the airport property was controversial for the city in part because they're investing city dollars in a different jurisdiction. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to swallow. In this case, we're identifying a parcel that they own and saying that this has recreation potential. And you know, it doesn't really have any value, development value, so give it to us and we pledge to, you know, realize that potential, that recreational potential.
I think that we should emphasize the use by the school, so schools, I mean, maybe we'll have younger track teams too. In the
Well,
future.
we're considering, maybe having a few members of the cross-country team show up at the meeting with their uniforms on.
That's fine.
And say, you wanna say no to that?
That's a good idea, I like that.
But it will be open to everyone. Anyone can go on,
Of course.
but with it is,
Very
that's the one big benefit that they don't have a place to practice.
They don't have a place to practice, I mean, right now, they're running through the cemetery,
Yeah.
and they're not practicing.
It's a very nice cemetery.
It is.
It is. Not what you call emotionally uplifting.
Because drama.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to accept the terms of the development due diligence agreement, send the agreement to Saugatuck City Council for review. And if terms are mutually acceptable, work with the Parks Commission and Township Engineer to determine liability of site and recreational potential.
I'll support that.
Motion by Marcy, support by Israel's. Any further discussion? Just like to thank both Parks Commissioners, for being here and, for your stick to itness with this.
Love your creative ideas.
Yeah, it's really,
I really do.
take it off. Our department.
I give most of the credit to Ken.
I'll take your picture.
I found you out there.
Okay.
Look this way, Ken. Thank you.
But let's have. Well,
She's not online.
I'm not on.
so the vote.
Okay, so we had a motion by Marcy, support by Israel, we discussed further, no, I'll call the roll, Marcy?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Aldrich?
Yes.
Palmer?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Yay. Okay, we have another visitor here for our next, item. We have so many visitors, friendly visitors.
Friendly visitors.
Visitors that we've known for years
Yeah.
and that we. Yeah, you missed Lori and the director, Becky, the director of Interurban, they were
Oh.
here, so I know, Lori was pleased, so we're very thankful for that. So item number 6 under new business wildlife management committee request. We have been asked to be part of a wildlife management committee by, city of the village of Douglas. They're heading it up, but Daniel, go ahead and, introduce this discussion.
Yeah, this is, I think this has been much more of a pressure point for the city of Douglas, but we've certainly gotten some complaints about deer population. The city of Saugatuck also has been receiving complaints about the deer population, and they're actually seeing like the trees in some of their natural areas being kind of like decimated and the new growth trees being eaten, so we definitely, have a very healthy deer population. So this is just kind of getting the ball rolling to see if there's any possible way to better manage that deer population. The cities are both on board with this, and they did introduce a sunset date, cause I think initially they wanted to do an authority. And I kind of pushed them towards a committee with like a definitive end date, so I think we're looking at 12 months after the formation of the committee. They're kind of, I know that each of the cities are going to appoint 2 individuals, we're allowed to appoint 2 representatives for the township. The cities are appointing council members for one of their spots respectively, and then having residents for the other 2. In our case, we have an opportunity to do that too, we can appoint a board member. But when this came to me, and I think when I told Abby first about this, one person came to mind as someone who could be a board representative and bring a wealth of knowledge to this process. And that individual is Tony Shippa, who's here in the audience. I can't think of any better gift we could give to the cities of Saugatuck and Douglas for this committee than Tony. I don't know who they're putting on there, but I think that Tony would do a fantastic job and really kind of get the committee started in the right direction. Like a lot of times when you start these committees, you're really starting at square one and trying to figure out all of the basics. But I think that in terms of history and direction, Tony would be an amazing asset and kind of fast track that committee. I mean, there's still gonna be a lot of work to be done, but I think that with these kinds of committees, they really can drag out and they don't always accomplish what they seek to accomplish, so. an option for you all to consider that a board member obviously can be appointed to this committee, and we could seek another township resident to fill the second spot. Or we consider appointing Mr. Shippa as the board representative and then work to find a second resident representative. Okay.
I'm supposed to share with you the 20, but
Okay,
talk about it later.
okay.
So is there a concern that that this start up and the two cities have council representation and we don't have board?
I talked to Lisa Nosarini and Douglas, and she wasn't concerned at all.
And you're,
I'm not, because Tony does a great job of reporting back to the board. And it's not like a council person can make large decisions without, consensus from their other council members. So this committee will exist only as an advisory committee, so they'll bring back actionable items to us to make a decision on, but they won't take those steps. So I'm not too concerned unless a board member feels that they really wanna serve on it, and then we could have Tony be the township the resident representative.
I personally feel like there isn't anybody better, both with, and Tony will take the podium here in a minute or speak to us and give him, I know he's done his homework like he always does. But, we know Tony with the emergency services, he's the chairperson of that, he's worked elections. He keeps us in the loop if anything's, controversial or whatever. So I would be very much willing to be, and I feel like, we have that relationship where you call me or I call you, and I can be that person that, is kind of the point person on the board. But I'd rather have two highly qualified people on that committee rather than just somebody making sound decisions. And because I think Tony can make sound decisions and be highly qualified. So.
but tonight as is, if we go that route, we're considering one resident to appoint. There's not a second one.
There's not a second one, and the reason why there's not a second one is because what we're really doing is considering participating in this committee.
Right.
That's really the
It's a
fun,
start.
yeah, it's the
It's a
start,
start with one. I'm
yes,
assuming in the future, as we hear how they're getting them, how they're
Yes.
progressing, hopefully progressing, that we could fill that second with a resident or a board.
and the cities are looking to do the same thing, so what we're doing here is determining whether or not the township wants to participate at all.
Okay.
And if they do wanna participate, we're gonna bring a person to the table and then start the process of identifying the second individual, that's the exact same thing that the cities are doing.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And as a board member and resident of the township that lives adjacent to heavily wooded property, I can attest that there have never been more deer in the 20 years we've lived here. Including last week, a doe with 3 fawns, and I heard that apparently this year triplets and twins are very common amongst the deer population, so.
I'm a little, people have strong feelings about deer control, and I know that they usually, if they did a.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. A what? A call? Okay. Is it always gotta be the females? I don't understand why we don't. I've heard that it's always on females. Don't you want the males are the ones populating all the females? I'm just curious why that.
Females have the babies,
Yeah, but the males are making that happen.
but if you eliminate one female, you eliminate 3 deer. Yes,
But don't
I am
males
disappointed.
impregnate a lot of,
They impregnate as many as they can.
I mean, they're not just with one person.
No.
I'm just so, I've always wondered about, I just kind of didn't, why you wouldn't,
that would
there's
be-
gotta be a way to
that would be
like,
a sterilization.
a sterilization,
There's a lot of ways to go.
Oh.
Deer condos?
All right, let's give Mr. Shippa the floor.
Okay.
Can you tell us what you think? I know that you, when I spoke with you earlier this week, you have some contacts at the DNR that you might have wanted to talk with, and and
Yes.
some other ideas that you wanted to flesh out, so please,
I
give us your thoughts
I
on it.
actually spoke with one of the gentlemen that I worked with in the DNR this morning. This man was very excited, the fact that this is gonna happen, or that we're working in that process. And I got a contact number for the guy that we have to talk to that is in charge of this area of the deer management, et cetera, so we'd have to go talk to him, cause I asked him, how many deer do you think should come out of there? And Mike says, well, I can't answer that. He says, but I know there's a lot of deer. I can tell you, I can take a ride here from October 1st in the afternoon or evening. I can count 150 deer between 130th and Campbell Road. Just stand alongside the road. There's way too many deer that have to be managed. I also got information from Mike, Meridian Township, over by Lansing, has been doing the same thing that we're talking about doing here for, going on I believe it's 18 years. Been very successful. So the outline is already there of what to do. I read about it today, read it on what they do. It's already in place. We could just copy that and go from there and call them and ask them how it's going, but everything I read, it's working very well. They decreased car accidents by 23%.
What are they doing to lessen the population?
They have a managed hunt. And what you do is that you have to be a resident of that community in order to put your name in, get on the list to have this hunt. When you hunt, you have to have do a safety hunter's certificate. You have to show your equipment that it's in good working order. You have to target practice in front of somebody that you can shoot your bow like you say you can, and then you're allowed to go hunt. If you harvest a deer, you gotta fill out a tag. They keep track of the numbers. The DNR is not too involved, but they like to get the numbers of what you harvested. They're not there doing this for themselves, but that's how they manage it. Just like they do right up here at the Hester Farm, not Hester Farms. They come.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, I can't think of the name.
They just put out in the commercial record, if you want to be part of our hunt on this particular farm, put your name in, you get a drawing, you gotta fill out the paperwork. You gotta let them know when you shoot a deer, et cetera. There's rules.
What are they doing with the meat?
Well, I'm sure the guys up there are using it themselves. I've been checking into that. The Sportsmen Against Hunger or For Hunger Against Hunger, that's an organization that if people don't want the deer, we would field dress that deer, we would bring it to them to a butcher that is in the program that will take that deer whole, you give up the whole deer. It shouldn't cost us anything. They get paid by the Michigan Sportsman's Club. 2022 was $1.75 a pound. If they grind it all up, package it, and then they give it to homeless shelters. They give it to places like food pantries. Yes, yeah. That was a community church over there. So you know, that's what they do with that. But you may find a lot of people want to keep it themselves, or I'll be talking to Don about what can be done with that meat other than that. Can I take it to my house, debone it, maybe give it away? I also check because people are gonna be asking about the wasting disease that's going on. And from what I can see, and I'll double check with Don, there's no wasting disease in this community. In this part of Allegan Township, from what I can see. So that wouldn't be that's not an issue that a deer would be sick in that process, would be giving somebody a sick deer for a deer. But something needs to be done. And I know there'll be a lot of people that will have different thoughts than what management should be. But if you don't manage them, Mother Nature will manage them. So I was even involved last year, taking 2 deer out of a guy's pool that had been in there for a while that they were complaining that I was staking. I went in and helped the city get those deer out of there. Why were they in the water? Possibilities, they had blue tongue disease, which crazy, want to have water. They go lay in water, the only water that was available was at the bottom of that pool. They got in and they couldn't get out, and then that's where they died. But Mother Nature is cruel. When there gets to be too much and not enough feed, you will start seeing, starvation, etc.
Tony, you explained the target practice, and I thought I heard you say bow, would it be bow hunting only?
In, if we're talking, that's the Douglas area there, I'm looking right at the Myro Golf Course, that is where a lot of them would be hunted, I would think. And it would be, and you said it would be a bow season, so you don't have to worry about having a shotgun being shot, because you have to hunt 450 feet from any occupied building. And it's hard to get 450 feet from any occupied building, unless you go south of Wiley Road into the big apple orchard there. But that's pretty close. Depends where you have a very narrow window of a spot to legally hunt 450 feet from any occupied building. But the city or this committee, we can put in place that we, is it legal to hunt in the city limits? Right now, it's not. The two cities would have to pass, I believe, would be an ordinance that says we may do a special hunt and follow the Michigan DNR rules and regulations, October 1st through January 31st. Bow and arrow hunt only by draw. These are the rules that go with that, etc. It's, and again, it's in place. We just gotta look at it and see what they wanna do.
But we would include the township too, not just.
Yes, yeah. I say those two guys, but whatever would happen, where are these, you talked about a lot of deer, and Mike asked me that too. What about the township? Are they having issues in the township?
They're mostly in the township.
Yeah.
We've had lots of calls, especially people on Lake Shore Drive.
Well, they're in the ravines, it's terrible.
Okay, and I'm not aware of that. The reason why I know so much about how bad the deer population is in the city of Douglas and Saugatuck is that my wife works at Overice Lumber. She says we sell deer, we come around gallons.
Yeah.
So we cannot get,
No, and
keep up within stock.
it was worse than ever this year.
Yeah,
The
and-
plant devastation and people
yeah.
asking township for help, or just neighbors asking advice, it's pretty crazy.
Well, Tony, so we used to have a lot of coyotes.
Used to have.
We'd lay in bed and listen to the coyotes and they were predators of the deer.
Correct.
And now our coyotes are gone.
They're not well run.
Well, there's,
There's not a lot of them around here. I've seen the coyotes for 10 years.
Hey, don't forget my cougar.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, see, and that again, if you wanna talk
over there.
coyotes versus deer,
We
the
don't have
more
coyotes.
baby deer you have, the more predators for that baby deer you will have,
Yeah,
because it's a food source. When them coyotes figure out that there are an abundance of baby deer, she digs a den, she comes in here and she raises her young because the baby deer are right here to get, she don't have to go far for it.
okay.
So that draws, the baby deer draw those coyotes. And a coyote is an animal that does not expel much energy at all, if it don't have to, in order to survive. It's an energy saver. Doesn't just go, if I can get a deer that's from here to there, I'll take that. And they are, they're living right here with them, so.
What happened to deer forest? Is there no, I mean, there is no sanctuary for deers anymore? Remember there was this park that all the deer, they had fenced in areas, is that gone?
That's all, yeah.
Oh, a long time.
I remember going there.
I mean, if there's no deer sanctuary anywhere, we relocate them. And what happens with the mother with the babies? What I mean, is it not the season? Are you doing it when they aren't giving birth? So you aren't making orphans of
Correct.
little.
You would be doing it, you would follow the state of Michigan rules and regulations. And they both went from October to January 31, October 1st to January 31. Now you're gonna hear, well, there's a gun season in there, but the rules and regulations say for this permitted hunt, it's archery hunting only. No matter where you can make it, no matter where I hunt these, under this special permit, it's archery only.
I don't know anything about hunting, but I have a hard time thinking that bow and arrows are more humane than shooting them, because I don't know. I mean, I just imagine getting an arrow in here and I could sort of survive.
It's actually, if it's done right, it's very quick.
Is it?
These are razor tipped arrows. And they
Okay,
aim for the heart lung area,
okay.
so a deer can actually bleed them.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. So-
Can you use that like a crossbow or?
Yes, our archery season includes crossbows, compound bows, longbows, a bow and arrow. And bow and arrows are, say, all of the above.
Alright. It's definitely a sensitive subject, but the disease is more devastating. If you have time to look at that and have the stomach for it, the disease is. And then you're not, then nobody's getting anything from it, at least here, there's potentially, you know, a source of meat for
Yeah.
people, and we're not having sick animals, you know,
And you know, like I say, we don't have the wasting disease here as of yet, but the more deer that you allow to grow and be here, you increase that chance that something might come in and bring it. And now you have, I'd have to believe there's 300 deer between the Oval Beach and Wiley Road. Back in all, kind of everybody's house on it. Now you have all of these deer that are potential for that illness, and you don't want that. And, you know, something needs to be done. Yes, it'll be a sensitive move, but I understand, what I hear through my wife talking to these people, they are tired. You're destroying their gardens. They can't grow trees, they can't grow flowers, they can't grow vegetables, they're just wiped out.
yeah, I'd be interested to see the statistics on the car accidents as well, you know, like if you car accidents.
Yes, and so you all know that's gonna start very quickly and everybody start paying attention because September, October, they really start moving. November 1st through the 30th, they're in the run and they don't care anymore. They run up in front of cars. The girls go across the road, buck don't see anything in water. Next thing you know, you got a car accident. Those statistics, I'm sure with this committee, we're gonna get all of that.
Right.
We can gather all that information up. And so, you know, here is a reason why we have, you know, one of the reasons why.
Trustee August, you have something to talk about?
I think I'd like to be on the committee. I think we need we need two people on it, and he could be the at-large, and I think I could be the board rep. I think we have to look at every option available. I don't think we go into this just willy-nilly. I really don't. You know, people have strong feelings about this. And not that I'm just never gonna say no, I'm not gonna, you know, but I would like to investigate all options.
Yes, and we, you know, we talked about the management of them, and that is the harvesting of those deer. There are other ways to do it, but then birth control, they talk about that, you know, now that's where the DNR is gonna be coming into play. That isn't gonna be a free issue. That's gonna cost somebody something, you know, on it, but there are other ways to do this, but yeah, you know, something, the fact that they want to organize this, get talking about it.
Maybe you have a person that's not all into the hunting on your committee. I don't know, is that a, I mean, I'd be that person. I mean, not that I'm against it 100%, but I would like it humanely done. I would like it other options explored. I would like, you know, I don't know. I don't know much about hunting also, I just know I feel passionate about.
You don't want to orphan baby deer.
Huh?
And
I don't.
and
I don't
answer your
understand
question,
that.
I guess we didn't really answer your question. We hunt in October, those deer that are born in the spring, April, May, June, some are born in June yet. That once October comes, they can take care of themselves,
Okay.
the mother's heart.
They can-
I just don't wanna leave a bunch of
No.
deer crying, you know?
For these kinds of, just to throw in my 2 cents, for these kinds of committees, I do think it's important to have a diversity of views because it is gonna be a hot button topic. And if you have everyone on the committee that's like, you know, kind of, you know, committed to one strategy, I think it's difficult to communicate that to everyone else. But if you have, you know, where Stacy is more sensitive to, you know, or open to different management styles, I think it's easier to communicate to the public that we went through this, we went through this, we went through this, and this is how we ended up at this solution, and it is the product of a view of someone who is very comfortable with hunting, and then it's a view of somebody who I don't wanna say not comfortable with hunting, but is concerned for the well-being of the deer. Not that you're not, but you know what I mean, like someone who's coming from like, I'm uncomfortable with management, I'm very comfortable with management, and then coming to a middle ground, and that's, I think that makes it easier to communicate to the public how we got to where we got to.
Like I said, though, I mean, I don't know anything about sterilizing deer or whatever, you know, so,
But I wouldn't wanna eat a deer that had chemicals put in its body for sterilization or some other reason.
but there's something to talk about, you know, and then I'm not.
Yeah, cause then that
I just
reason
know I'd
why.
be upset the whole time.
Oh, and the other piece, I just.
And you would hate me, Tony. Yeah.
But working in the
Very good.
ER, I mean, working in the ER in the fall, when I did work in the ER back in the nineties, it was terrible, the accidents and the people that would come in, and the majority, either, you know, had a severed limb, they had lost eyesight. I mean, there's a lot of human disparities that happen when somebody hits a deer, and often it's on the freeway. So I think you have to consider that, you know, the population is too large. You know,
Tony, what happened to coyotes? There used to be a lot more, you know, that.
About 450 in the last 10 years.
There,
the coyotes, yeah, we don't have any anymore.
Yeah, we do.
I don't,
I don't,
we don't at the ravines.
You're still gonna have some.
We had a ton.
You won't eradicate it, but they just figure out how to get around it. Yeah, I've got. Very few last 10 years.
Well, we had quite a few.
I've seen them crossing blue stuff.
We have not had any down in the ravines, and
yeah, we're neighbors, we haven't had it in a while.
we haven't had it in a while.
And
I
we have
appreciate it.
we have a lot of coyote hunters. That are in and around the outskirts of town and out towards the Todd Farm, Allegheny State Game area, a lot of the farmland around here. That's getting to be quite a sport. And these guys come hunting 95% of the time at night. They have night vision, they're allowed to hunt night vision, high powered rifles, et cetera. So, and they get a fair amount of them all the time too, so they're helping to control that population.
isn't that how it happens? You control one part of the population that was actually controlling the
Yeah.
deer population, so now less coyotes, you gotta
And then they
bring more deer.
Don't think they do.
Yes.
So would it be possible to appoint both at the same time? Because I really think it's important to have our area expert on this committee. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, Tony definitely got me on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The decision is, do we
Steve,
want a board member?
I think
I heard
that's
you
just the way to
say, I heard you say that you wanted to be and then kind of came back off.
Well,
it,
I
but
just
maybe
know-
into-
It's not gonna be fun. And I know it's gonna
Right.
be difficult, and I
So
know I'm emotional about it.
So, and I commend you for recognizing that. And I know that my comfort level with management is high. I just grew up in a hunting family. My husband hunts, everybody, you know, and I understand it, and I'm a huge animal lover, and I could never shoot a deer myself, but I understand the importance of it. I kind of, and I'd like to hear, you know, what everyone else has to say, but it seems like for Israel, while she's very busy with elections, has kind of a, well, and then you're done in January. Would you be willing to do it until January? I like the health, you know, like. I feel like you're kind of in the middle, you know, like you kind of see both sides and it's uncomfortable, but you see both sides.
Well, I guess I feel that Stacy's expressing a desire to.
Oh, okay.
No, I have a question.
No, I'm sorry, I
I'd like
read
to
that wrong,
support
because you
your
said you
desire.
wanted to do it, but then you said, no, I don't wanna do it, you'll hate it.
Can I ask a ridiculous?
That's the question.
Don't they tranquilize a male deer and remove their
Castrate them?
castrate them, and then they go wake up and then they go along their merry way. Is there a problem with doing it like that?
Probably financial.
Is that an option?
Well,
Yeah.
your one buck will service 10 to 30 does,
Yeah.
but that's one, so that means you'd have to castrate every buck within 20 miles a year in order to stop the breeding to happen. That's my opinion on it. It would be virtually impossible, because if those does are not being bred, they come in to eat in October, November, and they'll come in and eat again in December. And that scent will travel, if they're not being serviced,
Somebody else. will-
there will be a buck come here from a long ways away.
Got anything to comment? I
Absolutely.
mean, these are all great questions, issues, points of view. I'm kind of in the middle too, vis-a-vis, I don't eat any red meat, but
And you're not a hunter.
no. Certainly not. But I do think everything we're discussing, to me, that's the reason to support having this new committee set up.
Right.
To have that debate, have all five sides, however many there are. And I also know as a landowner and a board of elected official, it's a big problem here.
Mhm.
It is.
And I think there'll be as many or more people saying, yes, do it, than, but let's.
But my point is there another way to do it? You know,
Yes.
it's.
I'm just saying, we're not gonna solve that.
Okay, yeah, I think the committee solves that.
Yeah,
You know.
I'm all for it, and I think it'd be great to have you on.
the DNR, find out all of it.
Okay, I mean,
I think it's great you're offering.
am I?
Are you?
I thought about it myself.
I think we all.
Go for it.
I'd like to hear from Marcy. You've been largely silent over there tonight.
I think, we definitely want Tony on, and do you, I guess, you know how I feel about it, so it's just a no-brainer, but, I also I really see the problems with the population. Stacy, can you do it? Can you do it and maintain a certain?
I don't know, yeah, well, you know me.
I know.
That's why you're asking the question.
Well, I don't mean it that way, no, but you know, when you're really passionate about something.
No, I don't know.
Sometimes it's not the time to
You
do
know, I
it.
don't know information. Maybe I'm just talking crazy stuff, I don't know. You know, I'd have to research, yes.
See, this committee is gonna research and find out a lot of answers, get a lot of questions. I will come back here, you guys will make a decision
Okay.
on what's gonna
Yeah.
Yeah, there we got it. I want all the options, I really do.
The committee's not gonna say,
Yeah.
we're gonna start this management program, and this is how it's gonna go. No, you guys will make that decision. From what I see in the draft, I'm only gonna gather information with that committee. We're not decision makers.
Okay,
We're gathering the information. You have questions. You put them on a piece of paper, you give them to me, I bring them to that committee. Stacy would like to know the following things. Where can we find this out? Okay, that's how that's gonna work. It's not cut and dry that we're gonna do it this way.
okay. I just would love to explore all the options. I know it's a problem, I get it, you know, I don't wanna run into them either, but I just
Yeah,
wondered if there's
I do like the idea of you being on the committee for the very reason that when we do come to a decision to take action, we're going to need to communicate to the public how we got to that course of action. And if, you know, if we can explain or pull on, you know, the diversity of views that participated in that committee and help reach that recommendation, I think that would be helpful.
Right.
Because there will be voices out there that, you know, don't want any management. You know, there are people out, you know, there are opinions out there like that. They don't want us, you know, they view it, the animals as, or they view us as living in their habitat. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but there are people that hold those views. And there are constituents as well, and we're gonna need to be able to communicate to them the reasons or how we got to the management program that we did. And to have someone on the committee who's sensitive to the management practices, I think is a value add.
And Stacy, let me restate what I meant. Here's why I would never be interested, not here, not right now, is I don't think I could deal with the details. That's what I meant. So when you're really passionate about something, can you function as a member of a committee without,
Yeah. But I'm the one that wants all the options explored,
Well, we
you
all
know,
do.
I mean,
think we all,
I
don't we
think-
all want the option?
I do, but I don't know if that's what we were expecting.
Yeah,
really.
that's.
I don't think we know what we're.
I don't even think.
That's the
yeah.
point of
I
this
just wanna
committee.
make, yeah, I know, but I,
So
it
how much
sounded
does
a little bit like it was going
sterilization
down.
cost?
It was sounded
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
going
We need
down.
to know, what is sterilization cost per
Yeah.
year? And who funds that? All these questions.
You have to know you're going to get built at. Having somebody who starts at the other end of the spectrum with him, I think gives you a whole lot of credibility, which is what Dan is pointing to. That you almost are required to have, you know, the anti-harvest person and the harvest person. And based upon your work over the year, this is what we came to. And that and you can tell who's ever standing at that podium, yelling, "Shoot, don't shoot, Bambi."
Yeah.
That, cause they're gonna be,
Okay, then I,
so that's why.
are we in agreement that that's a good thing?
I think understanding, when we're on that committee, we're not making the decision.
Yeah, got you.
Okay, you
Yeah.
can't stand up and say, this is what we're gonna do now,
Right.
That we will bring it back here, and then you guys take that.
Okay.
And I know there's a lady right now that puts out 150 pounds of corn a week.
That's illegal, I thought.
It is illegal.
Yeah, why is
And
that
she
allowed?
has 30 deer a night come to her yard. She will be one of them, you're just a streamer. But she's breaking the law. That would be something that this committee would look at and say, okay, city people, city ordinances, township ordinance. What we need to do is get the DNR in here. If you know who's feeding these deer, which is drawing them deer here, they've gotta go be fined. We wanna know who they are, get their feeders out of the backyard, because that's part of the draw for all these deer.
Right.
Stuff like that's gotta be looked at and talked about, but yeah, I would invite you to be happy that you would be there, that way I don't have to start all your questions there.
I just wanna mention one thing too, I mean, this is a little more personal, but driving to Allegan after an election at 1 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
We counted 79 deer one year when we went. And I won't go alone, but I will not ask Lori to make that drive at all, and I hope you never ask her to do it, because it is really unsafe. Unfortunately, Larry Hanlon goes with me, and I appreciate it, he drives my car. I am scared to do that. And so, I mean, the deer are a problem for those of us who have to be out driving. That's all. I think you feel really bad.
Right, it sounds like, Treasurer Helmer was ready to make. a motion.
Oh, okay. I was just hoping someone would.
You said I was.
Alright. So just to be clear, before I make the resolution, this will be to appoint 2 members.
Correct, yes.
What I thought. So I'd like to move to partner with the city of the village of Douglas and the city of Saugatuck. The Tri-Community Wildlife Management Committee and appoint Tony Schiffer, Stacy Aldrich to serve as township representative.
I support that.
We have a motion and support.
Ask, but you have to designate Stacy's position and my position. I'm the one as a resident.
You're the
Oh, yeah.
You're the resident, she's the one.
Oh, okay, I didn't say it, but I thought you have to say that or not, just.
Yes.
Since she's on the board, I thought it's
Understood.
just, but thanks.
We have a motion and support, further discussion. I will call the roll, you made the
Aye.
motion, who supported? Helmer,
Yes.
Israel,
Yes.
Bickford, yes. Marcy?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Hey.
That's more scary than I thought it would be.
I know, yeah, no, it just goes to show like what you're raised with and what's normal to you is not.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Stacy, thank you, Tony, good job. Old business, there is none, it brings us to reports. John, go ahead with the treasurers and the planning commission report.
Okay, here we go. Treasurer's report, September 11th, 2024. Our general fund bank balance as of September 1st was at $980,000, down 20,000 from August. General fund revenues are running 9% behind budget at this point. This is due to timing differences, the posting of bank interest and revenues for future later tax billing. Two very bright spots, zoning and rental permit revenues are actually 25% ahead of budget at this point. And we also received, right at the end of the last day of the month, $64,000 in state revenue sharing. General fund expenses overall are 4% under budget. Overages both are positive situations. Tax year 2024, the consent agenda includes the third and fourth summer disbursements totaling $1.319 million. The two large mortgage aggregators have sent payment details and the checks themselves should arrive this week. Update, the CoreLogic, which is about 450 of our parcels, their checks came in and they said with the treasurer Stanislavski on yesterday, to show them how to do that. They didn't have to do that in the city because they have so many fewer parcels to do. Let's see, on the investment side, next month will be the detailed quarterly report. But as of September 1, our total investment value is $5.822 million. It went up by 5.736, the increase. Up to, sorry. That's an increase of 2% or $86,000 from last month. My class yield is still at 5.37%. All in all, with what's going on the markets, this is pretty positive. And then the transition front, I mentioned the the training I've been working on this week, which is going very smoothly. Let's see, I've already said what's here. 40% of our properties are handled by aggregators, which are tax received and posted differently than both of these are uncommon. So it's all going good. We like working together. Transition to planning. We haven't done one in several months. So we met on August 20th. It was the first meeting of our newest commissioner, Steve McFadden. He was there. Jackie Brown was absent that meeting. We elected our officers. I should say we re-elected our officers. Dave Eiley is chair. Jackie Brown remains vice chair, and Denise Webster is our secretary. So they serve those terms for this fiscal year. On the new business front, we did as we just voted on tonight, we approved the removal of the critical dunes overlay in our ordinance as Eagle has jurisdiction over dunes. Update on Blue Star Brewery. I should mention this property is owned by Mr. Eiley, so he recused himself from this discussion. The Blue Star Brewery was approved, I think, 2 years ago. They had to come back. It's a whole new plan. And if you haven't heard this, I think it's kind of exciting. But their engineer presented the new plans. They're going to actually use Eiley's Auto Shop now as the brewery restaurant. Repurpose that building, keep the doors, give it an auto theme. I think it'll be aesthetically a nice addition to Blue Star Highway. He's got so much property there, he's going to build a new auto shop, bigger and a bigger one further back away from the brewery. Yeah, I think I think so. So and then mainly we discussed the parking because they showed the parking with the supply store next door. even though the plans were favorably received by the commission, we did not have, as we always usually do before giving approval, the fire department's report. So we just thought that'd be bad precedent to approve something without that first. So, but rather than necessarily table it, we agreed that if the fire department report comes in, we could hold a special meeting with the planning commission. Yes, today. So I was gonna say next meeting is next Tuesday, but that just got canceled. There's nothing on the agenda, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That brings us to the manager's report. Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm trying to keep it top line. We did advertise the water main project for Riverside Drive and Dugout Road. We're waiting on a handful of easements. We got all of those buttoned up with individual residents. And then we're expecting to open bids on September 30th. So we'll find out based on the bids that come in when we'll start construction. But we're prepared to start construction sometime in the fall, all the way up into the spring. But we want the project completely finished by Memorial Day. So that's all moving forward. So it's a big project. We did submit our grant to the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. That's a federal grant program. The project's gonna be approximately $150,000 with a 20% match. We did budget for that in this year's budget, so if we get that, that would be awesome to develop a Safe Street action plan. And the one benefit for that, not only is it great to have a Safe Street action plan, but then we qualify for the development grant track through Safe Streets for All. So then we can get big bucks for actually implementing construction projects. That's really why we're doing what we're doing. So we were able to finish that. The Allegheny Drain Office and the Road Commission and the township all met to discuss the Blue Star Drain improvement and then also our sidewalk project. Just to make sure that we're all on the same page. It sounds like it's not gonna be a spring construction date, it's gonna be a fall construction date. I did relay the board's comments in terms of wanting to know how much it would cost to extend the sidewalk all the way to 134th North Street. They're gonna do it. It just to prepare you, it's gonna be a little more money. So originally we budgeted 5,000. It's gonna be more like under 9,000 to do all that engineering. We did discuss it with the drain office and the road commission, and the feeling was that you all were actually on the right track. That if we're gonna get in there and do this, it is going to result in some disturbance to the traffic pattern. Not to say yet that the road's gonna be closed, but it definitely is gonna disturb the traffic pattern. And their recommendation is that if you're gonna put a sidewalk in, you might as well just do the thing.
Right.
So you're definitely on the right track, so that's what we're exploring right now, so we'll get something back to you on that. Potholing and water line verification's proven to be an interesting project, it's been very labor intensive for staff. It might indicate another kind of shortcoming of our water authority. It would be great if the water authority handled the water line verification and the potholing, but it's fallen to each of the individual communities, and some residents get it, some residents are not as forgiving. It's somewhat invasive because you have to go in their homes to verify it, and then there's some hydro excavation that's occurring in 2 locations on their property, one being on the private side, one being in the right of way. So that's been challenging to navigate and to explain to the public what's going on and why, and you know, they don't always accept your explanation, and you know, there's part of it, this, you know, we're not quite sure why the state's requiring us to go into a home that was built in 2019 and do it, but they are. So that's been taking up a lot of our time. But we have to do it, and we'll get into it. Some good news, Cow Lake did implement our rate increase to the water ready to serve fee, so now we're at $15. We did have to agree to implement a conversion from REUs, residential equivalent units, to MEUs, meter equivalent unit. And so We have 12 months to do that, but we need some information from Cali to pull that off. They've committed to giving it to us, so now it's just a matter of getting it from them. I sent an initial email, I'm gonna send out another email, but it sounds like the board is committed to making sure that staff get us that information so we can make the conversion. And then once we do that, we'll consult with Andy Campbell and figure out what the rate needs to be in order to keep up with our capital improvement plan. Cause we did fall behind because there was quite a few months where they were not implementing our rate increase. But they have now, so that's really good news. Thing else. Does anybody else have any questions about anything else on the report? Those are some of the top line things. Oh, other than the utility committee met. So Abby, Stacy and myself were on the township's utility committee. So we met with the utility committees of Douglas and the city of Saugatuck and Andy Campbell and went over Andy's recommendations for updating the water agreement. I think there's probably some ironing out that needs to happen, but it seemed that all the communities were on the same page. And there's some pretty substantial concessions in there, but I think that it will make for a far superior water agreement than what we have now. So that, I think that was a lot of progress that happened at that meeting, and the state's requiring us to do it. So at some point, the state will put a moratorium on extensions to our water system if we don't get this done. So progress being made there. Cool. And there's some other fun
Can I call out one thing?
Yeah.
Because I just want to thank all of us collectively, this board, this manager, even the two managers before you. One of our priorities when we took office, even though we had a lot of things to look at, was to increase the funding of our pension.
Oh, yes.
And that, to see it now at 72% plus. How,
Yeah, we
takes a year to get the percentage, but we
Yeah.
have another donation made. But we all were committed from the beginning to putting that money in the budget. You know, we're on the state watch list, we're at 32%, and I just think we should applaud that effort. I'm so proud of us for doing it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, in 2016, you were at 32% funded for your pension program, and today they're citing last year at 71%, but we know we made that additional $50,000 contribution.
Put it to 80.
Yeah, so we're doing really well. Merce was really pleased with us, and what we're going to do now is instead of doing one payment at the end of the year, we're gonna break it out and do additional payments every month, and we'll get a little more bang for our buck. But we're on a really great trajectory to seeing that pension program fully funded.
Thank you. Open board report. Ms. Marcy. Sure, homework.
Two quick political things to light. So last Saturday, we had our first event at Blue Star Coffee for the Saugatuck Douglas Democratic Food. We were hoping to get 20 people to show up. We had 80 people show up. We did kind of Marcy, so thank you. And then just, you know, next Saturday, next Saturday we're doing another one at Blue Star. This will be less of a rally, but more drop by, sign things, pick up signs, tons of signs finally. So that's gonna be at Blue Star Farms, and they've been really supportive. It's probably like 11 to 3, just drop in. And then also that evening at 4 is the fundraiser for our state facility. So that's shared with everyone. Hopefully some of you can attend. That's it.
I do not have anything about these Israel.
Just that Lori and I are working on the November election already, so. We'll be running an AD counting board for 2 days instead of 1. So it's a little different regulation for us, but thank you to John and Abby for meeting with me today so we can get that information to the state.
Aldrich.
The only thing I missed the fire board meeting, I was in New York with my sister having fun, and so I called Chief Janik and he just gave me an update, they've been very, very busy, up 22%. I mean, they're just breaking every record, which you really don't wanna do, but it's been busy, that's pretty much, you know, they're just working.
So,
Can I make a probably really unpopular comment?
Oh.
And somebody fill me in if you know the answer to this. I'm not sure we should report any of the democratic activities if we're not also reporting. I mean, we are a township board and we represent every constituent.
but we're partisan, we have to be by law partisan.
No, I understand that, but I just was wondering if it's appropriate in this event. That's all.
Okay.
I mean, I thought it was a great event. That's,
No,
I didn't say it at all.
No,
But-
and we've done it in the past, I think it is appropriate, we can hear from the other party too, if they has to come and present to us.
Does anyone else have an opinion?
I would probably, it's a gray area and, you know, I can see like, you know, yes, you went to that personally as Brenda Marcy,
Right.
but do you
not
want to be
representing.
representing,
Right.
right, the township that way? So I think that's what she's saying, so I.
Oh, that, oh, no, well, but you are introduced as a township board member, that's not.
Right,
that's
but then
different.
bringing it to open meeting here and reporting on that, I guess is the rub, you know, so. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Anybody else? have anything?
Well, just that definitely you can't have signs here, either way, outside.
Oh, you can't conduct.
No, I know.
election business that way.
No, but, yeah, I haven't really, I never thought about it. But I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Oh, public comment. We have, yes, please.
Talk about emergency services just a minute.
Yes, you're here, so.
Something for you guys to keep in mind. Somebody asked you about, does AMR will AMR honor life's insurance policy? Will life honor their insurance policy? They have for all the years I was there. What we have is we have a gentleman that used life twice in X amount of time here recently. He got a hold of me and he was not happy with the bill because he paid his first bill very quickly, right out, you know, ahead of time, et cetera. Second bill come and he questioned why he was being billed and they weren't using AMR's rate for that insurance. My question was, did you tell Life Ambulance Medics that you are an AMR member? He said, no, I didn't. There's no way that Life will know that he's an AMR member. I got a hold of billing in Grand Rapids, they got a hold of him, they got a hold of each other, they discussed it. Evidently, the first bill was paid, there's something they can do. They are now checking into the second bill to make sure that he is a member with AMR. But if anybody asks you, they have to present or tell them, I am a member. If they have that card, it'd be very nice if they can make a copy of that, so they don't pay the bill and not get credit. For that happening. So, but, and in this email and talking to him on the phone, he's very happy with the medics, that's not the issue, it's just the billing part that's, I guess, got messed up and he did accept some responsibility for not telling them at that point, so. But just in case anybody asks, they have to let them know that they are a member of one or the others.
Cool, things if they can. Does it matter, can it be done later? If there are contests.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Well, somebody would have called 911.
When you
If
receive
with them,
the bill.
that person may know.
May.
May know, may not know, but when you receive the bill and you are a member, you call.
Oh, okay, that's
Say, I am a member of.
not related here.
No, as long, if you pay the bill and go back in and ask, then it's too late. But once, because they collected your money, they did whatever they had to do with it, but if they know beforehand, it's a lot easier for them to give you the discount, so. So like,
Thank you, Tom. Elliot, Ken?
I got nothing, I mean, been dealing with a few minor issues at the dog park. They're easily handled. I think. Talked to Daniel about this, was that someone discovered a hive of ground bees there.
Oh.
Actually, it was the dog that found it.
Oh.
Ground bees, you may know, fairly aggressive. They'll chase you, that's what happened.
Was it
So,
Otis?
I'm sorry,
Was it Otis?
hell
Oh, thank you.
Stacy, I'm gonna change the line on you.
no. Well, anyway, I did a couple handmade signs, I got orange poster board, just lets people know that if the back area. Keep an eye on your dog because bees are still there, and truthfully, I don't know how to find them.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, there's a couple of acres back there, and I'm not gonna go tramping through.
Right.
I'm hoping to scare up the bees and go, oh, now I know where they are, now we can Vandenberg it or something. I don't know the answer.
Oh, it's September.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Ken, would you like?
There was an ordinance nest too, but, you have a can that shoots 25 feet and you have 1 foot bird away. They didn't get me, so we're fine.
We're not all right. Is there anybody participating? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting before it gets any sillier. Thank you, everyone.
7:40.